There's one thing about being an entrepreneur. Well, many things about being an entrepreneur. We all face daily challenges, and it seems like every day those challenges change. I think even for people who have had massively successful companies, like my guest today, his name is Ken Burke,
Mhm.
and he is a serial entrepreneur. He's a startup entrepreneur, but this guy has created a company that he sold a few years ago. They worked with Armani, Party City, Warner Brothers, amongst others, sold that, got out of it. Now he's doing a couple of e-commerce startups. So he's just like us. He's got the money, but he's just like us, still faces the same things. Ken Burke from San Francisco is joining us on Marketing with Tim. Ken, welcome.
Hey, Tim, good to be here. Great to be here. And you're so right about the daily challenges. I don't care. I don't care who you are. You still have all of the same challenges that come up, and they're different challenges necessarily, depending on the evolution of your business. So doing it again and again, new things pop up all the time.
Yeah, it's as a buddy of mine once told me, and you can probably attest to this. He said, when you're planning to do something as an entrepreneur or small business owner, I don't care what it is, it's going to take twice as long and it's going to cost twice as much.
I say that all the time to the entrepreneurs that I work with as well. And just living proof. I'm just about ready to launch. We've been working on it for about a year and a half. A new e-learning platform that tackles e-learning in a different way. And literally, it's a little bit more than took double the time to do, and about twice as much on the budget.
So
But
it's
we're ready to launch, so
yeah.
we kind of knew that going in, but
So
it
so
still
it's
doesn't matter.
it's true then. It's
It is
absolutely true.
totally true. I just experienced it. Yeah.
Let's jump back for just a second because I think your past with this massive e-commerce company that you sold for $2 billion uh, a number of
Well, I
years
didn't sell
ago,
it for 2 billion. We did two
or
billion
you,
dollars a year in online sales for our customers. I wish I sold it for 2 billion,
I
but
stand corrected.
we had a wonderful exit to a very large software company.
Gotcha. Now you can't mention any names, can you?
Sure, I'll
Oh,
mention any name
oh,
you'd
well,
like.
well, okay. Well, what was the well? Because I was thinking about this before we started talking. What was the name of your company? And was it a household name? And would we know it?
No, yeah. So it was called Market Live, and we were one of the
Oh,
leaders. We had started in 1995, or I started in 1995, and we were one of the leading platforms that all of the retailers and brands run on or ran on. We were Forrester and Gartner ranked as the top, within the top five every year consistently. So it was an enterprise software play.
gotcha. Okay. And basically, you were the payment processor or something like that that these companies would use
Well,
essentially.
we were everything. We were essentially take Amazon. You think about a shopping cart, merchandising, personalization,
Yeah.
checkout, back end systems. We were the soup to nuts, all of that. Payment processing was actually just an add-on that we did, but the primary thing was we were we're talking to marketers right now. We were at the very beginning of personalization and individualization, which is what I call it now, or you might even call it machine learning now or AI. But
Yeah.
back then we called it personalization. And really merchandising on a personalized basis. We had started back in 1995, even pre-Amazon. We were customizing experiences and targeting messaging and graphics and products to individual customers, and that was the key to our success.
Hyper personalization. In other
Yes,
words,
yeah.
yeah.
Even back in early 2000, and then we just evolved it and evolved it and evolved it from there to where we got
Wow.
really good. That's why we called it Market Live. We marketed live,
Mm,
and we got really good at increasing sales. That's why our customers stayed with us for so many years. And I would tell you, your marketers that are listening out there, it's still true today. Hyper personalization, individualization. That's what getting the messages, the right message to the right person, the right
right
time,
time.
the right product. Boom. Then all of a sudden you're going to make a sale, and that's as simple and easy as it is. And that entire strategy needs to be cohesive. So when you're messaging to a customer, you need to understand how refined and targeted that message is, and then make sure those benefits are loaded up, as we all know, but make sure they're loaded up to that specific small group. Because I always say, if you try to talk to somebody, you talk to nobody. And that's totally true. And entrepreneurs, we do this all the time. I do it as well. I want to serve the low end of the market, the mid end of the market, the high end of the market. It's like, it doesn't work. Stop the
Right.
insanity.
Right. It's
Let
the riches are in the niches.
The riches are in the niches. And it's okay. You can eventually serve multiple markets, but you got to land somewhere first. So for the entrepreneurs that are listening, for the marketers that are listening, that are kind of just getting started out on their business or in their first, I would even say 4 or 5 years of their business,
Mhm.
resist the urge to try to serve everybody. Get your beachhead, get your that sweet spot of the sweet spot of the sweet spot, which is what I call it, that beachhead, and then land and
Yeah.
expand from there. That is probably the best strategy. It certainly worked for me. I don't always practice this myself 100% of the time, I will tell you. My
Sure.
urge is to serve as many people as I can, but I always have to remember this. And eventually somebody slaps me upside the head and says, remember, and I do.
Well, I was going to ask, do you catch yourself and you say, you know what? Oh, I'm trying to serve planet Earth here. No. Do you stop yourself, or do you have to have somebody come in and kind of grab you by the shirt and go, hey, what are you doing?
Oh, it's, you know what? Awareness is a great thing. And so I'm aware that I'm doing it, but every once in a while, I need the people that are around me, whether they're my advisors or my investors or my coworkers and that are working with me on the project, and say, hey, wait a minute, who are we building this for again? What are we doing this for? Because in the software biz, you actually do have to build features specific to a certain market. So any of our tech entrepreneurs out there, not all features are going to, if you're going after a B2B market and then you want to do some B2C stuff or low end and high end, completely different feature sets. This holds true in the app market and a lot of different markets as well. Whatever you're building, if you're actually building a physical product or a digital product, you need to know who you have in mind, very, very, very clearly who you have in mind to build it for. Otherwise, you're going to build a product that doesn't resonate and doesn't work. And that's the key: is it has to resonate. The messaging has to resonate, the benefits have to resonate, but also your product strategy or service strategy has to resonate as well. They all have to be, they're all interconnected as one big strategy. That's what people sometimes miss. I like to call it a go-to-market strategy. You could certainly call it, but it involves so many different things: your target market, your positioning, your product strategy, your marketing strategy, your sales strategy, your messaging strategy, your unique value proposition. All of that needs to sing in harmony. Even your competition and your competitive differentiator, they all need to sing in harmony. And once that happens, you're going to watch your business take off. If something's out of whack, you need to analyze it and just correct it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we were separated at birth or something, or we're because you are espousing everything that I've been saying for years,
Oh, good.
and it's now when you touched on the app market, and I made a mental note of this just a moment ago. Did you dabble in the app market at all, or was your thing your market live? Did you go into the app
We
stuff at
were
all?
we were really pre-app because I sold the company in late 2015, early 2016. And I know we weren't totally pre-app, but there wasn't, in the e-com space, there really wasn't a space for transactional e-commerce to have an app, except if you were Amazon or a really big retailer. So some of our customers did have apps, and our
Sure.
technology worked seamlessly with it. I do currently work with some app companies that I'm on the board of or an advisor to. And so I have a bit of an insight. It's a hard market. You've got millions of apps out there. So the more specifically and finely targeted those apps are, those are the apps that actually do really well. It's the targeted ones, because the general markets are going to be really hard to penetrate, and it's very expensive in the app market to acquire customers. So you better be pinpoint perfect
Oh yeah.
on who you're trying to go after, because it's so expensive to get the attention.
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm going to jump back just for a couple minutes ago as you were talking about getting everything to align, the messaging, the audience, the market, the timing. If you want to get macro, micro level, you want to get down to nuclear, subatomic particle level, colors, logos,
Yeah.
fonts, sounds, the way the web page is laid out, all of those things have to align. And when something is just one little thing could completely throw off your sales funnel, your sales. And when that happens, did you ever find a way to process of elimination, figure out where the clog was happening? If that ever
Yeah.
happened to you?
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, all the time, because you're continually playing and tinkering around with this as you continue to refine your business. When you first start, you kind of have an open green field, if you will. You're just, you're out there and you're kind of trying this, and then you jump to something else. The first advice I give to entrepreneurs and myself is patience. What entrepreneurs want to do is they want to jump as soon as something doesn't work fully or perfectly, and they give it about, well, a week in some cases, 3 weeks in other cases, a
Or
month in other
less.
cases. And they absolutely positively need to make sure that they have some patience and they give their strategy some time to set in, because you set out your initial strategy. Nobody's going to nail it 100% right, because you need that iterative loop. So this is one of the reasons we have an MVP, a minimum viable product. And that is that we put out a product or a service offering, they apply to both, that we initially test in the market. I'm going through that right now. I only know so much about the e-learning market. As much as I've been into it for 4 or 5 years, I've studied it. I have a business, a content business that has revolved around it, that I actually built so that I could learn how the software market should work and what people really needed. And that's what would birth the software company. And that was all intentional, by the way. When I started the content company in e-learning, so I have 2 companies, Entrepreneur Now, that teaches entrepreneurs how to be great entrepreneurs. And then I always knew, though, I was starting the Entrepreneur Now as a test bed for the software company, so that we could figure out what the next level, the next iteration of e-learning needed to be, and where the pain points were for people that are doing it now. And we discovered them, and then we built an app around that. So lots of, but I had to be very patient in getting that, and I still have to make revisions and changes. As much as I put years of work into this, now as it's going out to market, I'm going to learn new things, and my target might be off. My price point might be too high or too low. My positioning of what I think is the value proposition of what people need might be different, probably will, than what the market is. And so I'm going to continually tweak this for the next year, probably, right?
Yeah.
If not, well, ongoing, you're always tweaking. Even at Market Live, I mean, we ran that company for 21 years. Even though that we were a leader in the market, we had an established position, and we were kind of we started in 95 when e-commerce started. So we were always looked at as kind of the, one of the main players, so the ship took a little longer to turn. We had literally millions and millions of lines of code in our software. Well, right now, if I want to, but today I have a whole new platform where if I need a new feature, I can get it in a week, because I have the entrepreneurial ability to start to pivot and start to change. That has both a good side and a bad side, right? We talked about the bad side is you can change anything on a dime, and patience has to kick in here, right? The good thing is that you can adjust to the market very quickly. But as you get older and older, or years go on, it becomes harder and harder to do that. So it becomes more of a refinement of your position. You can't turn the ship because the ship gets bigger, right? So you can't turn the ship quite as fast as you can when you're new. I hope that resonates with a lot of your listeners as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ken Burke is my guest from San Francisco, serial entrepreneur. Guy's got more gallons of energy than I think than we can bottle up here. When you talked about just a moment ago, this is something I say that, and you could please steal this, use it. I don't care, whatever you want to do with it. I always say, does it pass the need, want, will test? And that is, if you're not familiar with this, does the market need it?
Yep.
Does the market want it? Will the market pay for it?
Yep.
So if you can't check off all 3 boxes,
you're not going to go very far. Exactly. And here's what I want to comment on that is the number one slide in an investor deck. And I've built literally hundreds and hundreds of investor decks. I've been on both sides. Sequoia Capital was my first investor. I mean, what a first investor. Sequoia Capital, the people that invested in Apple, Google, YouTube, created LinkedIn, created all these companies. And then it just went on from there. And I got to tell you that the number one slide that they look for, the first thing that needs to be right in your deck, whether you're looking for money or you just need to define this for yourself, as you said, is your problem statement. And your problem statement addresses exactly what you just said. So think about it. This is a very hard thing for people to come up with. I have struggled for years. Every time I sit down and have a new business concept, I have to come up with a problem statement. And I always struggle for it myself. But when I'm doing it for other people, it's really easy. I can always come up with the problem statements for other people, but for myself, it's always hard. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. That need, that want that you talk about manifests itself in what problem are you trying to solve? So every entrepreneur, every business, every marketer needs to understand the core problem, not the superficial problem, not the problem you want to solve,
Right.
the problem that actually exists. Here's what you don't want to be. You don't want to be a solution in search of a problem. Because what most entrepreneurs do in their ideation, and they're like, wouldn't it be great if the world had this? Well, maybe you're the
Sure.
only one that thinks that, or maybe it would be great, but it's not a big enough problem. Let me give you an example I saw on Shark Tank. I always remember this example and I use it. There was a guy that came on that said, I can purify water in the water jug that he shook to 99.99999. I think it was 5 nines, right? I can purify the water to that. And the jug was like $79. It was like a water bottle, right? But very expensive water bottle. And the sharks looked up and said, you know, what do most purification systems do? It was 99.99. The world doesn't care that their water is purified to 5 nines or 2 nines, and they won't pay what you just said, which is perfect. They won't pay for that extra. They're going to buy the $39, 99.99. Sounds good to me. So that whole sniff taste that works, you have to solve a problem that people care about.
In the e-learning space, Ken, so let's jump to that real quick, because I find this fascinating. E-learning has morphed dramatically, in my opinion, over the last, golly, I mean, you could even say the last 5 years, much
Yeah.
less 10. You know, you have all these platforms, of which I am not getting paid to say, by the way, in full transparency. I mean, the Udemy's, the the Thinkifics, and all of these. What was the one? The one of the first, like
Teachable as well as in there.
Teachable. There was like,
Kajabi.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these things, Infusionsoft, Keep, whatever, all these things. And you talk about changing quick. What are you finding? What are the trends in e-learning right now that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, no, there's a couple of things in e-learning that are important. And I do believe that everybody should integrate e-learning into their business, either from a thought leader perspective, which we can talk about, not even just e-learning in general. Thought leadership is wildly important. And I have some stories around that, to integrating it within your customers, your partners, and your prospects, which is really what I'm talking about. That's what we're targeting, is that, yes, employees, e-learning is important. But if you really want to use e-learning to sell more product, to market more product, then it needs to be integrated into every aspect of your business. Now, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind in the e-learning space. One is micro-learning. Micro-learning has been around for a while. You've heard the term micro-learning, which essentially means that you're going to teach somebody in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 minutes. In other words, an entire course. Udemy has, most courses are 15 hours, 17 hours, 5 hours. You know what? The reason they get sold is because they're $10.99 or $12.99. Udemy is the commoditization of e-learning in a very bad way, in my opinion. I have one course. I have 190 courses in my other business, Entrepreneur Now. We have a wonderful library of courses, not just me, but my fellow course creator instructors as well. We have about 190 courses. I have one on Udemy. And the reason is because Udemy as a platform doesn't work for me as a course creator. I make no money. You can't make any money when they have 200,000 courses to choose from, and you get $2 for every time somebody buys it. So, and unfortunately, people buy them, but they don't actually take the courses, because engagement is the second big pillar of e-learning. You've got to have, first of all, short courses. Anything over about 40 minutes is too long. An hour, forget. If your course is over an hour, forget it. Don't do it. Now, can you put that into a program that might go for multi-hours? Absolutely. Even a certification program. I always teach my course creators, as they're creating courses, to create courses in puzzle pieces. Create small courses, 25 to 40 minutes maximum. These are actual courses. I have something called micro courses that are, or microcast, which is because the name of the company is Microcasting. We call them microcast, that are anywhere between 3 and 5 and 7 minutes. Those are little mini bites of information that people can digest very quickly, get a lot of powerful information, be highly engaged, and get through. The next step is a course, 25 to 40 minutes maximum. And then you have programs where what you do is you take these individual courses that you've created and you put them together like puzzle pieces. So they need to stand on their own. But then if you want to put them together to use them as a bigger program, that's how you do it. And that can go anywhere between, I say 5 courses, 6 courses. You could even do 10 courses, anywhere between 2 and 4 hours. That would be a program. That's it. Anything more than that, people will not digest. They will not consume. And I have literally study after study after study. that says the exact same thing. And I experience it every day. We distribute our courses that we have 190. I distribute all around the world to about 40 different distribution partners that distribute out to millions and millions of people. And I will tell you, courses get up to an hour. They don't get watched. I make no money. So think about that.
Wow. And when you say a course, are you talking the entire course? Is in my mind, a course is section 1, section 2, section 3, etc. Or are you just talking about one big lesson?
No, I'm actually talking about a course. People like
Okay.
to achieve something. So typically a course consists of 5, 7, or 9 videos that are 2, 3, 4 minutes each. So they're progressing through the course. Don't give them one big 40-minute video or one big clump of information.
Sure.
Break it up into small lessons. So a lesson would be 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. We group it together into a course. A course typically has a quiz and or knowledge checks. Knowledge checks are where, as I'm taking or watching a video, at the end of that video, I can just answer a quick question. It really reinforces the information that's in the video. It makes me feel, and I'm much more engaged. Anytime I can put an activity or an event or something that occurs, even a discussion group, and integrate it within the course itself, I'm going to have a higher level of engagement. That there's a lot of ways to get engagement. That's one of them. And so 5 to 7 lessons with a quiz at the end. Always do a quiz. I recommend a 5-question quiz because it also engages the user. It tests the knowledge, but it's really more for reinforcement of key points.
Yeah.
And then I always like to do support material as well, something that's downloadable, a check sheet, spreadsheet, something that they can download and take away. That's a formula for good thought leadership when you're prospecting, when you're working with your customers, when you're working with your partners, and or when you're working with your employees as well. But I think of e-learning, my use for e-learning in the world I live in right now is for my new business called microcasting, is to use it as a sales and marketing tool, to position yourself as a thought leader and continue to put out great information. This is wonderful for lead nurturing. This is wonderful for, even if you're B2C, you still have to do lead nurturing. You need to bring along that customer. They're not quite ready to buy your $99 a month software package or your $99 a month, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to bring them along. What better way to bring them along and really build some loyalty and trust with the customer and credibility with a potential customer than reinforcing and giving them some education, teaching them not only about your world, but your expertise as well. People don't just buy products anymore, they buy solutions. And part of a solution is an e-learning component. They want to know that the entire success of Market Live, my first company that I sold for lots of money and so on and so forth, it was all around thought leadership. We position ourselves as thought leaders in the industry. I did every trade, and back in the day, we didn't have e-learning. I did every trade show. I spoke at every event. I did radio. I did articles. I did white papers. And it built us up to the industry saying, God, these guys know exactly what they're doing. They may not even have the best software. They have good software, really good software. They may not be the absolute best, but they know the world of e-commerce. I want your listeners to take that to any world that they're in and become the leader in that world and become the expert, and then wrap that around your solution. That is a key to success, I believe, in marketing. It's a longer-term relationship strategy that you're giving back. You're not asking, you're giving. It will come back to you, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's a fascinating answer, Ken.
That was
Fascinating.
a long answer too.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay, because that you actually sparked something up here, and I'm wondering if anybody else watching or listening maybe had this same thought. I'm wondering, can let's say a retailer, let's just kind of go big for a second, 30,000 foot up. Okay. Somebody like a clothing store, a Macy's or something like that, or a Home Depot. There you go.
Sure.
A Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, take your pick. If somebody is, one of these places with the DIYers, we're going to do it, or I'm going to build this deck myself, and I'm going to, okay, fine. If that's the case, you got to know what you're doing, or you have to at least bring along somebody who does know what they're doing. But if that's not an option, the learning component, I wonder, are companies like that using that stuff now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Home Depot is one of the best examples that I have in the retail space that are doing it. I will say that retail, because I've been in e-commerce for so long, I know e-learning and e-commerce, your listeners might get mixed up a little bit, but being, 25-year veteran, or probably closer to 30-year veteran in e-commerce since the very beginning of it, right. I can tell you that only between 10 and 20% of retailers are really utilizing e-learning as part of their overall and integrating it into their strategy. That's going to change, and I'm waiting for it to change. We actually, because of my background in e-commerce, I also know a lot of people as well. And I can see the shift a little bit, but it's moving slowly. So now Home Depot here is one of the best examples that you nailed, that has integrated e-learning into their overall solution. They actually have commercials, and at the ends of podcasts, at the beginning of podcasts, I always hear them. Or if I'm listening to any of my music streaming services, they talk about their classes online, both live, on demand, and they will literally teach you anything. They have an entire learning center, which is what I advocate for every company. Even if it's 5, 10, 20 videos, even if it's small to start, you're going to start putting out really good information out there. And again, it could be 3 or 4 or 5 courses. People understand e-learning today, and they understand courses. And so if you use that terminology, people will identify with it a little bit more, and they'll think it's more valuable, like something they would otherwise pay for, but they're getting for free. And Home Depot says, you come to us, we're going to teach you how to build the deck, stain the deck, do the add-on room, whatever it is. A lot of small stuff. I mean, add-on room is kind of a big thing.
Sure.
They're not going to teach you how to build a house, but they're going to teach you how to fix a lot of things in the house that are anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes to learn. And you can do a lot with that.
Yeah, let's take this down to the entrepreneur level. And when I say entrepreneur, I'm talking the solopreneurs, I got one person working for me off of Fiverr, those people. Okay.
Yep.
In their ads, what they could do, and we've talked about, and I'm sure you've talked about this too, but if they shifted their strategy in their ads, and not even just in their ads, but also let's say their Facebook posts, their Instagram, their blogs, wherever they're trying to reach people. If they went from hey, look at me, to actually helping people, saying, let's take one of these fashion or makeup people. I think that's why the makeup thing is so big on Instagram, is because they're saying, I'm doing this and I'm applying it this way, or I'm not holding the brush this way, I hold it this way. If you take that mindset, that approach, and you apply that to what you're doing, and just give people just a little, as I call it, a chef's kiss. Here's a little thing for you. Here's a little thing. That could be the difference between you're getting a trickle of people coming in versus a flood who say, wow, this person really, like you said, they really know their stuff and they're helping me for free. That's going to warm them up to hopefully at some point buy my course, buy my merch, whatever it might be. Would you agree with that strategy? And how often would you do something like that? If you
You're 100% right. This is a great tool for solopreneurs, especially for solopreneurs or very small organizations. You are selling yourself. So part of what you're doing, it's not, you're the brand. In solopreneur cases, you're the brand. So the representation of how you put together, whether they're 5-minute videos, 10-minute videos, a course, or what have you, not only are you going to get that, you're going to take that asset. I think of anytime I build a video, a course, a micro course, a microcast, whatever it might be, I think of it as an asset. And I say, well, how can I distribute this asset to get the widest audience? Obviously, I'm going to put on all my social media. I'm going to send it out via email. I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to do all the basic stuff. That's the basics. But also, if I put together this stuff, could I actually sell it? Could I sell? Is there value? So partly—
Need, want, will, right? Need, want, will.
Right, exactly. Is it right? And if I don't want to sell it, I just want to use it to attract customers, then it needs to be represented on your website and a learning center, so that when you're bringing new people there, they're getting a lot of value off of what they're already interested in anyway. They're coming to your website and coming to you for a reason. So they already have an interest in what you do, or even if it's a small interest, and some of them have a very large interest. All you're doing is you're building your credibility. That's what thought leadership marketing is all about. You're building your credibility. You're building the trust, the relationship, and the bond, because they know, and I experienced this for 25 years in my own company. I didn't even know I was really doing it. For many of those years, we just did it. That's what we knew it worked. So we did it. We didn't even call it thought leadership in the day. This was back in 2000, 2005, 2010. We were just putting out really great information, and it kept coming back to where anytime that we went into, and our software was expensive, by the way, $100,000 to $1 million for a year for our software. It was not a cheap piece of software, right? So when we went in, it was enterprise class e-commerce. So when we went in, they didn't want only our great software, they wanted our expertise in saying, well, how do you personalize, and how can I best put my products online? And remember, in the early days of e-commerce, nobody really knew how to do this stuff. So we taught an entire kind of industry, us and others, how to do it. And from there, that just built our credibility up to why people bought us for one reason. The entire solution, not just for our software. It was our key differentiator. We didn't even know it at the time. Now what I'm telling entrepreneurs to do, your solopreneurs, your marketers, now be very prescriptive about it, meaning integrate it into your business, knowing that's part of your strategy. I don't think you can build a business today without some orientation to thought leadership.
Interesting. And people are looking to you or me or whoever you are listening to this right now. People are looking to you. They may not think, and it's a really good point. And that's also a hard thing to convince people that there are people around this planet, and I've said this in my seminars and stuff, there are people around this planet that are waiting to hear from you.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that when I say you, I mean you, whoever's listening or watching to this right now. There are people waiting to hear from you. And that's a hard thing for some people to accept. They go, me? Why would they listen to me? Oh no, there are people. Our job, your job and the marketing's job is to go out and get in front of those people, and let them and send a beacon out saying, I can help you. I can help you. Here's what I do. I have the solution, not the answer. I have the solution.
Right. But I think two things that I would build on that. One is that it's all about the relationship. And so establishing the relationship, I want you to, first of all, I want our marketers and other folks listening to think about giving before receiving. I want you to give, put great information out, put great tools out, give away what you can give away. This is kind of that freemium model that a lot of software companies use, where they give away a piece of their software. The app market does it as well, and they rope them into the remaining buy. But there's still value there, and there could be value in your business if you're not doing that. But think about giving in the relationship before receiving. Don't always be asking, I want the sale, I want this, I want that. What can I give them? That's number one. I think that's critically important. There was something else that you said that sparked a thought, but I forgot it. But that first one is really important.
It's okay. It'll come back. It'll come back.
Exactly.
E-learning, Ken, where do you see this going in the next, let's say 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
Because it's changing, like you said.
It is changing. And I think the uses of e-learning, which is what we're bringing to the market, the uses of e-learning are changing as well. It's no longer a LMS, old school, for businesses anyway, internal learning management system where they're teaching their employees. That industry is old and tired, and it's entrenched with their players. The new uses of e-learning is what I'm talking about, where you're using it for sales and marketing, partner relationships, building strategic partners, and then you're syndicating that e-learning out to the world. So where we're taking it and where we believe the market is going is what I call e-learning everywhere. That means at every touch point that a customer could potentially be at, or a prospect could potentially be at, your e-learning is there and available to them, just like you are. So let me give you an example. I just met with a very prominent individual in the Metaverse space. And the Metaverse, I know that some of you are like, what is he talking about? Because I kind of said the same thing. I was like, Metaverse? We're not even there yet. Yes, we are.
It's a big deal.
The Metaverse is a touch point for e-learning. In fact, it's a major touch point. If any of you used the Meta's or Facebook's Oculus, which I have one sitting right in that closet there, it's and the latest version as well. It's a completely immersive experience that learning is going to be prominent first and foremost in that. And so you want to make sure your business is positioned to take advantage of that, because that's part of your overall solution. I provide my product, I provide my service, and I provide wherever my customer is at, the immersive education and learning and information. E-learning is a very broad term for a lot of different things. Content marketing, white papers, videos, articles, it's all being replaced by this mega term called e-learning. And e-learning everywhere is where I can distribute my e-learning to wherever my customer is at. That's kind of what we're going to see that's what we're going to see in the next couple of years to maybe next 5 years, is that real proliferation. And I was shocked, but the Metaverse is a real thing that major companies are investing literally millions of dollars to figure out.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is, and this would never have guessed this, their employees, the people they want in their companies, are the Gen Zers that are coming up and graduating. And this is what they want. They don't want to work on white papers. They don't even know what a white paper is. They want to work inside the Metaverse And if they want to work for your company and you want to attract that talent, you're going to need to be, it's kind of the next version of social media, if you will, right? If you look at the generation that came out prior to that, everybody wanted to work in social media and new media and be an influencer and such. This is the next tier of that. So I do want to make sure the marketers understand that, because they need to be paying attention to what's going on there.
No doubt. And not only that, now's the time to claim your real estate inside of said metaverse, or any sort of metaverses, which may come up, because probably not just going to be one. There's going to be a bunch of different types of metaverses.
We don't even know where this is. We're at the very beginning of this augmented reality metaverse experience. E-learning plays a big role in that, but there's a lot of other things as well. There are digital products. There's ways to make money in the metaverse. Some of it sounds silly, like I'm going to buy real estate in the metaverse. I don't get that yet, right?
If you don't think this is a big deal, this is a true story. This was 2 days ago, I believe. We're recording this on August 30th, and I think this was 2 days ago. I get a bulletin on my phone from the one of the big radio industry trades that I'm still on, because I was in radio for 25 years. But it was the rundown of the MTV VMA Video Music Awards, the winners.
Yeah.
And they had a category. Did you know this? They had a category, and I may be paraphrasing, but it was Best Metaverse Performance.
You're kidding. I did not know that. That's awesome.
About fell out of the chair. I went,
they know their market. They know their market.
No doubt. And not only that, if it's to that level, the MTV VMAs, if it's to that level, it's real. It's a thing.
It's mainstream. And where you need to look for that is you need to look at the Gen Zers. These are the kids, if you will, forgive me, that are 14, 15, 16, 17, 20. But they're also 22, 23, 24. I always forget when Gen Zers, what their oldest age is, because it always changes. But keep in mind, the millennials are like old now, right? I mean, millennials, I'm kidding. Millennials, I'm kidding. You're not old. Don't worry. I'm old, but you're not old.
Gen Z, I believe, is 95 or 96 and up.
I think you're right.
Somewhere in there.
Well, think about that. So I'm 20. So I would be 25, 26, 27. I'm out of college. I'm now in the workforce. And now this is a real thing. And that's the generation that you're now speaking to. And by the way, do they have a lot of disposable income? You better believe it. Do they spend money on themselves? You better believe it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, and this is also the generation that, for basically most of them, not all, but most, if we at age 8 is when we really start recalling things, anything 7 and below is a little fuzzy, or it just doesn't register. If age 8 is where people start remembering things, these are the people that do not know a world without an iPhone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
They don't know the world without a computer, a PlayStation, a tablet, Xbox, all that stuff. They don't know a world without it. And you have to cater to them.
Absolutely.
And if you're not,
and the world that they're either going into or they're leading the way. I mean, a lot of us thought TikTok was silly when it first came out, but 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds didn't think it was silly, because you watched your son or your daughter on it constantly. It's not so silly anymore, because I think it's the #1 social media platform, if not, and it's not just for dancing anymore.
Right.
I talked to the folks at TikTok probably a year ago, and they were testing out e-learning, and they talked to us about their beta programs around how they can incorporate e-learning. And I don't know what they've done since then. We weren't included in the beta. We were very late in the discussions, meaning we entered very late, so we didn't make the cut. But it's very interesting to see. I don't know where they are right now, but that's a platform that's going to move and continue to move in that space.
And if you don't think TikTok's real, I know advertising on TikTok. I had to do a little bit of research, or a little R&D on buying ads on TikTok a couple months ago.
Yeah,
it ain't cheap. It ain't the Facebook spend $50 and TikTok is for real, and they ain't playing.
Yep.
And they're there to suck your money right out of your pocket.
And Facebook and Instagram did that in the day as well. Now it's a lot harder to monetize those platforms as it was when they first came out. But look to the next platform, even right, even beyond TikTok. Look at the next one.
Well, I would say the metaverse would be the next. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I was looking at true story. I was looking at the Oculus headsets today. I don't have one, but I'm thinking I probably need to get one of these.
You don't have to say, even if you experience the Oculus headsets before Facebook really they acquired them and then they revved the product. The new version of them, which has been out, I think, for a year or so, it's completely immersive and very different than the earlier versions of it. So if any of your marketers out there may have said, "Oh, I tried that 3, 4 years ago," you need to run out to Best Buy or wherever you get them. Literally, I went when I bought mine. There literally there were just stacks and stacks and stacks of these things there, because I think that they are this wasn't during a holiday season. They must be flying out the door, because there were a lot of them there for $299 for the lower end version, $399 for the higher end version, and I got the lower end version, just has a little less memory. Highly recommend the experience. It is a trip. You literally, there's an app in there, you feel like you're flying because of the sensory of how it encapsulates you into it, and also the video. But literally, you're in a different world, and I literally, it was a mini golf or something like that. I'm like, and you start flying while you're playing around it. You're like, holy crap! I really feel like I'm flying. So that's just an example of something that's, if you haven't looked at it, you need to look at it. That app alone is worth it.
Probably insane. Ken Burke is my guest. This is, man, you talk about a riveting discussion. I want to thank you in advance for that, because this is fantastic. When you talk about, just very quickly, let's talk about messaging. That's kind of where I'm an arbiter of words.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I make my money. What your thoughts when you were building up Market Live and doing 2 billion a year and all this crazy numbers? And we talked about messaging. What are some, is there an insider Ken Burke tip you could give us? Because I drop them all the time on here, but
I bet. And I think
I would love to hear some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I think they're going to be similar to some of the things that you talk about as well. But the number one thing that I talk about is the message has to be highly focused. So the thing that entrepreneurs are famous for is being defocused. And I'd rather talk. The more narrow that a person that I can talk to, it might feel like you're limiting your market size. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what your investor says. What you really care about are conversions. You can always expand, but it's really hard to shrink. It's really hard to get narrowly focused. So focus is number one. I think all your audience knows that. It's the right message at the right time, at the right place, right product, like I said earlier. Yeah. Second thing that I think is really important is everything has to be in sync, right? So it's not just the message, but you got to have the product or service that backs up the message. You have to have the positioning, which, by the way, you make up, right? Your key value proposition and your positioning are things that you make up. Your target, you make that up. You decide what your target is. It's not the outside world deciding it, but it all has to be in alignment. But also, and I know you've talked about this before, but we all forget it. Talk about benefits. Always talk about benefits, because when I read marketing for my entrepreneurs and I read some of their marketing stuff, and I'm like, God, you're narcissistic. Why are you talking about yourself? Why? I don't care about you. The world is what's in it for me. And I know you echo that like every podcast, but I can't emphasize that enough. You've always got to ask, what's in it for me, being the consumer? Because that's all we care about at the end of the day. We don't care you're great. We don't care you have 120 features. We want to know the features. Trust me, we want to know the features, but I want to know what it does for me. So in the e-learning space, as an example, I talk about growing your business overall. That's an obvious one. Increasing your renewal rate, increasing your loyalty rate. And I show them exactly how I'm going to do that. I talk about customer retention. I talk about loyalty. I talk about engagement. How do you engage your customer? I talk about lead nurturing and improving your lead nurturing. Those are the things I care about, because they all lead, as a business, they all lead to making more money. And so if I speak in my customers' terms, like renewal rates for a software company and an app company are the most important thing imaginable. So when I go and I talk to a software company, you know what I'm going to be talking about, right? Renewal, I'm going to show you exactly how my product, e-learning, and this e-learning platform that's highly engaging and addictive and filled with tons of content, is going to engage your customers so that you can continue to renew them year after year. And I did it myself already in my prior company, and I can show you the formula and equation to do it for you.
One thing,
that's the benefit. Bingo.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. One thing, as you were talking earlier, And we were talking about adjusting on the fly, and nobody's going to get this right out of the gate. With the QR market, which you've seen, that
Yeah,
thing's gone through so many iterations before I launched it, before I even showed it to anybody.
right.
And if you haven't seen that, check out the qrmarket.com. But little shameless
It's
plug.
very cool, by the way. I did go and see it and
Thank you.
experience it, and it's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
Yeah, it's still making adjustments to it.
Well, and the
But
proliferation of QR codes, as we talked about on our pre-call, the proliferation of QR codes it's absolutely proliferated. I
no
was
doubt.
where when QR codes first came out, nobody knew what the heck they were. I was trying to get them incorporated in the retail environment, on hang tags, on shelves, and on things, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
retailers were like, I don't get it. Today, you'd be foolish not to have a QR code on a placard or a hang tag or on a video or on a TV or a rate. I mean, it's
No
you
doubt.
have to anyway. It's proliferated, so
No
you're
doubt.
dead set on trend, which I love.
Thank you. The one thing that, as entrepreneurs, business owners, if you're listening to this right now, Ken, I would love your take on this. I always say, listen to signals. And by that, I mean, if you just happen to have a random call with somebody or a random email or chat about an area that you don't know about, or maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to dabble in this area. I'm going to run an ad in this space. I'm going to try to get these people. If you happen to talk with somebody and they say, oh man, these people, they're broke ass, man. They ain't got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you're pricing, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to charge $1,000 for this. They may not have $1,000. They may not have $100.
Misalignment, not in sync. Yep.
Listen to signals. As you grew Market Live and now you're doing this e-com thing, how many signals are you getting a day? And then you tried to formulate your path for your e-learning stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, in the sales process, especially if you're in an enterprise sales, you have the luxury of doing a loss analysis. And with both the entrepreneurs that I work with, the companies that I work with, the companies that I'm on the board of, and my own companies, and in Market Live as well, we rigorously go through a loss analysis, which is really the same thing that you're talking about. It's informing us why what we tried didn't work. We might have made it too hard to buy, meaning not just the price, but the pricing model might be off. I was consulting with one of my companies literally over the last month or so. We've been struggling with why they are requiring a year fee. Now, you can pay monthly, but they require a year commitment. And I'm like, you know what, guys? And I'm on the board of this company. Make your product more engaging and make it such that they can't replace you. And then charge on a monthly basis, which is exactly what my e-learning product is. I don't need to charge on a yearly basis. Here's why. Once you install an e-learning system into your business and people start using it, they're instantly hooked. That meaning not even that they're engaged, that once you start serving up courses to people, you got to continue to do it. You can't pull back. So I don't need to charge a 1-year contract, which by the way, would be a stumbling block for maybe my customers or other businesses. I can charge a monthly basis because you're not going to pull me out. So don't create constructs or illusionary contracts that you think are important that when you're never going to get dumped, why, it's irrelevant. Now at Market Live, my e-commerce company, we signed 3-year contracts. And the reason was, after you put in an e-commerce system at that level, you ain't pulling it out for at least 3 years.
Oh yeah.
Nobody, zero. I don't care if it was Disney. I don't care if it was Party City. I don't care if it was Warner Brothers. Nobody signed anything less than a 3-year contract. That was our marker because nobody objected to it as well because they didn't care, right? It's like, well, if I'm going to spend $1 million on implementing this thing and another $1 million a year or 500 or 200 or 1,000, I can do a 3-year contract. But if I'm going to spend $50 or $100 or $500, but it's so necessary, you make yourself indispensable. And that's what I told the software company as an example. Make yourself indispensable, and then you can get rid of this yearly pricing. Solve the major objection immediately. In other words, find your losses, find the objections. If you don't have losses, if you don't do a loss analysis, look for objections. Listen to those objections. Once you hear the objections, then you can start manipulating your model accordingly.
Got to be able to pivot.
Got to be able to pivot without necessarily, again, and also I want to make sure that our marketers and our entrepreneurs don't just take one piece of advice and say, oh my goodness, everything's wrong, I got to change it. You pivot right. Carefully after getting multiple, and you amass information. And if it resonates with you, that feedback, always say this, if it resonates with you, then listen to it. If it doesn't resonate, then either stay the course or make other types of adjustments, especially if you have investors. And I will tell you this from firsthand experience, Sequoia has a very loud voice. When they say to do something, you better do it, right? But what they told me right after they invested their millions and millions of dollars with me, they told me, they said, Ken, you get 3 strikes and then you're out as CEO. Here's how it works here at Sequoia. This is after the investment. You can do something, and if you make a mistake, it's your fault. If we tell you to do something and force you to do it, and you make a mistake, it's your fault. And if we both agree to do it together and it's a mistake, it's your fault. In other words, it's always your fault. Take on full responsibility and accountability. Don't knee jerk. Don't be knee jerk. Listen with an open ear. Take on good feedback. What resonates, keep. What doesn't resonate, dump. And get rid of your own ego around, what's right or what's wrong. We didn't even touch that. I know we're out of time.
No,
We've
no,
gone
no.
over,
No,
but,
dude, we're good, man.
The entrepreneur's ego is a big deal. I've got it in my book, Prosper. I've got it in my courses. I talk about it a lot because it can kill you.
As my friend Mindy Hart in Kansas City likes to say, you got to be, I believe it's strong like a battleship, but swift as a speedboat.
Yeah.
Or nimble as a speedboat. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true. Ken, I could talk to you for probably another 2 hours.
Oh,
but I know you probably got to go. So let's do this.
What I want, if we're brothers from another mother, as they say sometimes, right? That I want you to get, you can have whatever energy I have. I want your voice. I want your radio voice. That's what I want. I love to listen to Tim just because I like to listen to his voice, and I love your information. By the way, very insightful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you're very kind. I'll just take some. I'll just take some of your money. But anyway,
money. If I can have that voice, I think I might part with some of that money.
Ken, you just mentioned your book, Prosper. Tell us about that real quick. What's quickly.
In it? Yeah, released it at the beginning of the year. I spent about 10, 15 years writing it, forever. It's not that it's huge, although it's about 300 pages. It's on Amazon. We launched. It was a bestseller, number 5 on the Amazon list when we launched. Of course, it's not there anymore. But sure. for the fleeting one day, I got up to number 5 on the new release list, which was awesome. And it's a personal development book. It's 5 steps to thriving in business and in life. And as entrepreneurs, as marketers, as people, they go together.
No doubt.
Can't separate it.
No doubt. Where can people find out? Obviously, get the book. Please go out and buy Ken's book. Where else can people catch up with you? Socials,
sure.
etc.
Yeah, a couple of sites. KenBurke.com, of course, has some videos around the book on definition of success and happiness and fulfillment, all that good stuff. And I've got Entrepreneur Now. It's got a ton of free stuff, by the way. Free courses and everything on entrepreneurnow.com. And then microcasting.com is our software business, in case anybody was like, oh, I want to learn a little more about that.
Yeah,
so those are the places to check out.
Yeah, that microcasting. I think if you combine that with metaverse stuff like we were talking about.
Yeah. We're excited about the future. We are excited about the future.
Man, that is you put your chocolate in my peanut butter moment, That's
now that one I haven't heard, so that's a good one. I love
that could be deadly. That's the old Reese's, doing this thing.
I know, but I love the term. That's awesome. I think I'm gonna steal that one.
Please do, my friend. Ken Burke. It's Burke, by the way, if you want to check out kenburke.com and get his book. Check out the microcasting. Check out Entrepreneur Now. This guy's a wealth of information. Ken, it has been just an absolute blast. Please come back.
Oh, I hope so. And I hope you invite me back.
I would love to. Really, really great stuff. Ken, thank you so much for all your information today. This is great.
Thank you. And thank you to your listeners as well. I really appreciate it.